Well, welcome to Speed Life 2005 in lovely Puerto Vallarta, and welcome to you at home, wherever you may be viewing this. It's nice and warm here, so if you're freezing your ass off, you should have been here, right? Let's give me all a round of applause, yes? Thank you, thank you. Thunderous round. So, wow, we have quite a week lined up for you, and I thought I would begin by playing with your minds just for a little bit. We are going to be undergoing some very interesting and unusual learnings throughout the entire week. And one of the things I want to encourage you to do is not to learn in your traditional ways. I've said this time and again in many products, but I believe a theory of learning is really necessary. A good way to learn is necessary to absorb any technological material, any set of technology, whatever it may be, whether it's from me or whether it's from me. Is something that you want to have a good way to learn. So I want to tell you that traditional classroom learning where you sit there and take notes and just get a left brain cognitive understanding is probably not enough to get you to really change. It's important and it's necessary, but it's not enough. So throughout the week and during the time when you at home are watching this, I'm going to be having you doing drills and exercises. There's going to be a lot of that. One of the things I thought I'd start off is by relating something that came to me from a dream. I'm very big on dreams. And about 3 weeks ago, I had a series of repetitive dreams, and they were all pretty much the same dream. So whenever I have a repetitive dream, I know there's some real meaning in that. And the dream, first of all, anyway, how many here have ever seen or at least heard of the show The X-Files? Who has never seen The X-Files before? Right? It's about two FBI agents who investigate bizarre, unusual phenomena like UFOs, Bigfoot, really strange, totally unusual stuff like the Bermuda Triangle, Jewish women who like to give head. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Without jewelry or other payments. Seriously. So there's a male agent, Agent Mulder, and then there's a female agent, Agent Scully. And Scully is also a medical doctor, and she's the very skeptical one. Mulder is the one who believes all of this. Scully's the real skeptic. That's the backstory, okay? So a few weeks ago, I had repetitive dreams. It was the same dream where I was talking to Agent Scully. And in the dream, it was a reality where Agent Scully really existed. She was not a fictional character. Can that noise? Agent Scully was a real human being, really an FBI agent. And in the dream, I walked up to her and I said, you know, Agent Scully, I just want you to know, in the real reality, where I come from, you don't exist. She said, what is that supposed to mean? I said, you're a fictional character portrayed by an actress named Gillian Anderson. Every word that comes out of your mouth is scripted by a writer. And all of your gestures, all your facial expressions, they're created by an actor. You don't exist. She said, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as the X-Files. I'm Agent Dana Scully of the FBI, and if you don't get on my face, I will arrest you, sir. I went, okay, I'm just telling you, you don't exist. I had the same dream a couple nights in a row, and I thought, wait a minute, that's really interesting. Supposing, just as a thought experiment for you guys and for you people watching at home, supposing that this reality was not real. What if everything that happened here was part of a story that was being scripted by a writer, portrayed by an actor, directed by a director, and you were a fictional character? If you could step behind the scenes into the real reality where all that was being planned, and you could tell them how to create a fictional character that could enjoy the maximum amount of freedom, the maximum amount of exploration, the maximum amount of fun, what would you tell the writer to write in terms of your beliefs? How would you have the writer create your character? What beliefs would you want the writer to create for your character? What patterns of action would you want the writer to create for your character? How would you tell the actor to portray you such that you had the best feelings when you were walking around? How would you tell the actor to portray your centers of energy? Do you understand what I'm saying? If you could go back into the real reality where the fictional character that's you, that's played out here, could be created, what would you want to design in? How would you begin to design the character you are in this fictional reality? So since it's going to be scripted, what kind of things would you tell the writer to have come out of your mouth? What kind of attitudes towards life? What kind of beliefs? Interesting, huh? That's a pretty interesting mindfuck to engage in. So when we take a break, the next break, I want you guys to spend about 10 minutes answering that question. So assuming that this is a fictional reality, I'm a fictional character, you're a fictional character, everything that comes out of us is scripted by a writer, acted out by an actor. How would you help the writer and the actor build your character? What would you want to put in there? What beliefs about life? What beliefs about learning? What beliefs about money, about women, about sex, about how reality works would you want to put in? Do you understand? Are you getting this? It's a weird question, isn't it? But I want to begin to encourage you to ask really weird questions, because really weird questions can produce some very interesting and novel answers. Does this make sense? Because I just want to give you a very little bit of conceptual theory. I'm going to reveal my understanding of how I think how everything works. Since we're going to be talking about magic and deep level programming, I think there are two ways to look at humans and to look at life. This is my guess. It's only a guess, but this is how I think it works, and this is what this week is going to be about. All right. Let's call this C and E. And no, it's not the Church of England for you Brits, okay? Where's the thunderous laughter I've come to expect? Fuck y'all. Okay. This is what I call the cause and effect reality. This is mechanical cause and effect reality, where everything, all of Newton's laws apply. To every action, there is an equal and opposite erection. Right? Is that the law? Do we all know Newton's laws? For every action, there is an equal and opposite what? Say it with me. I need verbal feedback. Yes? Bodies in motion tend to remain in motion of the ocean unless acted upon by what? Bodies at rest tend to remain at unless? Right. Everything's cause and effect. It's what you call the domino reality. So if you knock down this domino at point 1, then at point 2, this domino will fall, and then this domino will fall. Yes, you got it? This is the view that says fundamentally, everything is run by cause and effect. Time flows in one direction. Everything has to be measured through matter or energy. Signals are sent at a certain speed and they're received at a certain location. After that signal travels a certain distance through space, right? We get it? This is the very deterministic, materialistic view. Also, that humans are fundamentally can be reduced down to chemical, electrical processes, and that's all we are, fundamentally. Yes? Now, there's some levels, there's some viewpoints, perspectives from which this makes sense and is a working model. Just let me give you an example. Yes? God forbid if you're ever in some kind of traumatic car accident or if you're shot or anything like that, you better not go to an herbalist or someone who believes that your body is a pattern of information and vibration. You get your ass to a Western trauma center where they'll shove blood in you and do all that other stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's certain levels at which looking at dealing with people and human beings where this view makes sense. This is also pretty much the view of archaeology, that your past is what matters, that your genetics determine what you can do in your life, blah, 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 blah. Yes? Now, the trick is to not throw this out entirely, because there's some levels at which, if you look at it from the right perspective, this actually makes sense and you can get results and it works. What I want to tell you is I also think, for lack of a better word, there's what we'll call a non-local reality. That just means it stands outside of time, it stands outside of space, meaning this reality is not bound by time and it's not bound by distance. It's everywhere simultaneously present. In this reality, everything is connected. Everything is instantaneously connected all the time anyway. It's a reality of connection, and this reality, what counts as information, patterns of information, which organize things, patterns of information, patterns of vibration. Information, vibration. And so, the way I think it works is most people are still stuck in this reality. A leads to B, leads to C. Yes? And what I'm here to tell you is A, B, C, all lumped together up here, leads to this. The patterns of information, energy, vibration up here can actually influence all of this. It can influence it backwards in time, forwards in time. You can get a lot of leverage working with this, A, B, C, up here, in the realm of information, vibration, energy, and belief. Belief is like the bridge between these two. Your beliefs are like the bridge between these two that enable you to have effectiveness on both levels. So throughout this week, you're going to be learning techniques, technology, skill sets that enable you to access this in such a way that it affects this. Yes? And you're also going to be learning some things that allow you to be much more effective solely on this level. Does that make some sense? Yeah. Now, let me just say, this is a metaphor. I'm not saying that this is actually above. That's a metaphor. It could be to the side or in the corner. Or if anyone's familiar at all with string theory, the idea that there are dimensions that are curled up or rolled up that are infinitely small. I happen to believe, this is my belief, I can't prove it, this is my suspicion, that we as humans, our consciousness as humans is participating in many realities simultaneously. That we already have a foot here right now anyway. And in this reality, we're having multiple existences, experiencing many, many forms of consciousness. It's just that right here, we're selected down into this, so here we're just limited to what's human. You understand? But I believe our consciousness is much bigger than what's currently being filtered through our bodies. Does that make sense? Our consciousness is simultaneously participating in a lot of stuff up here. Now, how's all this going to help you get laid more? Because I know that's what you're asking. How's it going to help me make more money, get more of what I want in the world? What I want you guys to get, look up here. What I want you guys to get is that when I talk about things like belief, energy, pattern of vibration, patterns of information, this is not airy-fairy, new age, hug a tree, save the whales. Let's all join hands and sing Kumbaya, my Lord. Right? I don't believe in that shit. They're very, very extremely practical tools that will cut through a lot of crap and allow you to make huge leaps in your life if you apply them consistently. Does this make sense? Yeah. Yes? Okay, good. This is yes. Yes. This is no. I prefer the verbal feedback. Anyone have any questions, disputes about this? No? What's going on with you? I'm watching this. You get...
The music kept me up late.
Oh, you're up late? All right. So let's deal with that. Let me show you some things to wake yourself up. Yeah?
Sure.
You all right with being on camera?
I'd rather not.
Okay, then you don't have to be on camera. I'll show you. Let's do some things to wake yourself up. Because, again, remember, one of the things I'm going to teach you is bring your body with you. Bring your body with you. You're not going to get where you want to go from the neck up. It doesn't work that way. So here's what I want you to do. Can you stand up? Okay, but you don't want to stand in front of the camera, so make sure you're over here. All right, here's what I want you to do. Feel your collarbone. You know where your collarbone is? Okay, so cross your hands over, put your thumbs in here, and dig. You dig around, you'll find a spot where it starts to hurt. Below your collarbone. You dig around, you feel that spot where it hurts. There's like, dig around in there till it hurts. Breathe. Okay? Grab your ears like this. Tug down. Tug down. Then cross them back over like this and tug down. Cross your hands back over. The other way? Yeah, tug down. Now here's what I want you to do. Take several sniffs in. As you do your inhale, make it like 5 small inhales. Then out through your mouth. and turn around and rub back here. Rub back here, like the small of your back, your kidneys, with the backs of your hands. And do like those 5 sniffing breaths, like. Now look over here. Look over here. Just take your hands like this and just rub back from your eyebrows towards the sides of your head, then all the way up, and then all the way like that. Very good. You can put some nails into it if you want, do a little scratching. And the other thing I want you to do, and I'm not being funny here, I'm being completely serious for you. This wakes me up in the morning it's the Ross Jeffries workout video. Yes, now you can be a hunky stud like me. What I want you to do is be very careful, is in the back of the room, I'm serious, I'm not being funny, I'm being completely serious, is you roll back on the ball like this, and then as far as comfortable, lean back here. You know the breath of fire? Do you know how to do it? Come up. So I want you to lean back on that ball as far as comfortable. If you can put your hands back on the ground, do it. And breathe rapidly through your nose. That will wake you up, I guarantee it, okay? As much as you need to, just keep going back there and flop on the ball to keep waking up. You understand? All right? By the way, one of the rules of being influential with people is to notice what's going on. Don't sit there like a dumbass. Go ahead, that ball's yours to play with. You can go in the back room and play with it. If you notice that people are not following you, stop and address it. This is a principle I'll get to later, but since you incorporate what you see in the room, right, that's what you want. You want to see live action examples, correct? Yeah. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Incorporate what you see. So if I notice someone is not following or is having a problem, don't ignore it. For Christ's sake, address it. People, here's the authority principle. I'll get to this later. We're going to spend hours on this. It's a very powerful principle because my skill as a persuader is not primarily about my slickness with language, even though it looks that way. My skill as a persuader has to do with my beliefs about persuasion and some principles. And one of the core principles, who here would like to be more influential, more persuasive for selling, for making money, for sex, for relationships, for anything? Oh, good. Well, then one of the first rules is the authority principle. I've gone over this before. You've heard me speak of it, but repetition and practice are the mother of skill. So I'm going to say it again. And for those of you at home who want to be more influential, I don't care where in what area of your life, it's extremely important that you get this principle because it powers all the language patterns, all the other stuff I do. It's a fundamental principle, which is this, that people will not accept that you're an authority on where they should go and what they should do unless they first accept that you're an authority or expert on where they're at. I'm going to say this again. This is an extremely powerful principle, and we will get to this and explore its implications and show you how to put it into use in your life. This is an extremely powerful principle. I don't care if you're in sales, if you want to influence your family, anything. This is very powerful. People will not accept that you're an authority on where they should go and what they should do unless they first accept that you are an authority on where they are at, that you expertly understand where they are currently at. Now listen to me and get this implication. Please look up here. This is really important. I didn't say you have to go there for yourself. I didn't have to go there and get tired myself to recognize that he was feeling tired. I didn't have to join him in his problem or in his challenge, right? Too many people, and this is the problem with a lot of you guys, you at home, if you're a speed seducer, if you're a nice guy, the problem with the nice guys is they join in the woman's reality. Instead of simply recognizing it, they join in. So she's constantly setting the lead. Does that make sense? Okay? That's the problem with the beggar. The problem with the bully is the bully doesn't give a fuck about your reality or her reality. He just drags you in. The problem with the bully is he constantly has to recruit new people because people don't want to come back, except for very sick and twisted people, right? So the bully fails most where he succeeds the most. So you don't want to be a bully and you don't want to be a beggar. You want to be able to set a strong lead, but you also want to be open to information without having to go where the other person's at. So if you're having trouble because you're too open and people are dragging you into where they're at, then you need to learn some specific skills and rituals which we will teach you so you keep your energy strong, you keep your intent strong, you can see where the other person's at, but they can no longer get to your information or your energy. Does that make sense? That's what Shirlene is going to contribute to you guys. That's why I bring these people along. I don't just bring them along because they're my friends and I like them and I've benefited from them. I see where what they're teaching fits in as a different module to support everything else. All the teachers, everything you're going to learn this week, we all support each other synergistically. There's a way in which it all fits in. Now, you may not see it, but you have to trust that I see it, and I've designed it well. Yes? That makes sense? So, we were talking about, what were we talking about? Where were we? Let's track. I know where I was, but do you know where I was? That's right. But we were talking about reality over here, okay? So the point I want to make for you guys is my teaching to you is this stuff about belief, energy, patterns of information, patterns of vibration. This is not airy-fairy, nor is it exercise in intellectual masturbation. These are extremely practical, very powerful tools that enable you to make very big leaps. Yes?
Yes.
Any questions so far? Comments? No? Praise? No?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So what this week really is about, I think it's very much a yogic practice. Anyone here do any kind of yoga? Anyone here study the Yoga Sutras at all? When I say yoga, I don't mean bending or twisting or doing any of the postures. There's one definition of yoga. Yoga comes from the word, and Mark will tell you more about this, comes from the Sanskrit word to yoke, to link towards, to link or up with something. When you yoke an oxen to the plow, I think fundamentally this week is about linking and unlinking. It's about unlinking from the patterns of response, emotion, behavior, belief that keep us trapped, that take away choice, that don't really serve us. The yoga term for this is samskara. Samskara, Mark will explain more to you about that. But samskara basically unconscious patterns of perception, awareness, thought, desire that we either develop through life or we're born with them. Some people, I'm not going to get into this, would say they come from past lives, whatever. But they're there, and they're so habitual, we don't even know that we're responding on that level. The metaphor I would give you is a fish. Let me ask you a question. When you were a kid, anyone ever have pet fish as a kid? Yeah? Well, when I was a kid, I used to annoy the hell out of my mother with a lot of questions. And one of the things I said to my mother is, "Do fish sleep?" She said, "I don't know. Why don't you find out for yourself?" That was my mother's typical way of dealing with me, saying, "I don't know, look it up," or "I don't know, you go find out." Did anyone get that email newsletter I sent out about my best teacher, my mom? That's all true. That really was her birthday. That's all totally true. So, sure enough, as a kid, I did a little hypnosis. I said, I'm going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I remember as I was going to sleep, I said to myself, I'm going to wake up at 2 in the morning. I'm going to wake up at 2 in the morning. And sure enough, 2 in the morning, I woke up. I go out to the fish tank, and by golly, you know what I discovered? Fish don't have eyelids. So they can't close their eyes, but they're all at the bottom of the tank, barely moving. I thought, okay, they're sleeping. Then the next day I said to my mom, well, I think maybe fish sleep, but they keep their eyes open. She said, okay, kid, that's good. Gave me a look. I said, Mom, do fish know that they're wet? And she looked at me and she said, I don't know. Why don't you go find out? How would I do that? So next night, I'll wake up at 2 o'clock. I will woke up at 2 o'clock. Took a fish, scoop, there were guppies, so it took me a while. Got one out of the tank, put it out there, it's flopping around. But I better put it back in the tank, so I put it back in the tank. I thought, you know what? Fish don't know that they're wet because they're in the water all the time. Fish don't know that they're wet because they're in the water all the time. Well, it's the same thing with fixed habitual patterns of response, particularly layers of emotion, layers of anger, layers of resentment, whatever it is, layers of sadness. You don't even know it's there because it's so habitual, you don't know anything else. Yes? So a good practice that we will teach you is to learn to look at these things from a place of pure awareness. Pure awareness that's unconditioned, that's not covered up by anything, that can see with absolute clarity. So you're no longer stuck in it. Does this make sense? The basic yoga idea, I'm going to have Mark teach a little about the Yoga Sutras. You ought to get a copy of the Yoga Sutras. I would recommend, Mark actually edited a book called Heart of Yoga. And in Heart of Yoga, he has the Yoga Sutras with his translation and his commentary. So I would recommend that book. I study the Yoga Sutras and they're fabulous. Patanjali wrote these, some people think like 3,000 years ago. It's only something like 194 sentences. But in that 194 sentences or sutras, he displays an understanding of human psychology and perception and awareness that is, I think, far beyond what we even have today. I mean, this guy was the real shit. Are we all awake? Yeah. Yes? Do we need to do more of that silly-ass breathing? So the question is, how do we unlink from all these patterns, and then how do we design in and link towards the things that really serve us? What are the practices that we can use to link towards the things that really serve us and to unlink from the things that don't serve us? Does that make sense? Yes. Would that be a useful thing to do? Now, here's the challenge. Here's the really interesting, funny thing. I was having a conversation with Roger about this, and it really is a very interesting and profound point. Most people don't bother to do any of this stuff until they get into a big crisis. Most people will not bother to even look at these practices of linking or unlinking until their life hurts so bad that they finally start paying attention. Let me suggest that once the earthquake has already occurred and the roof has fallen on your head is not the best time to begin preparing. You understand? It just strikes me, and you pay attention up here and get the transmission, don't write. It just strikes me as being kind of silly. I mean, we buy life insurance, right? Health insurance, yes? You don't wait till you're dead to buy life insurance, do you? You don't wait till you're scheduled. Well, you Brits have national health, so you don't have to buy health insurance, do you? But those of you at home who are not from Britain get the metaphor. You don't wait until you're sick to buy health insurance because you can't get it then, right? The idea that you can and should and can even enjoy proactively, that means before anything happens, proactively design in your beliefs about learning, your beliefs about what you can do, your beliefs and practices for keeping your energy calm. The idea that you should proactively do this every day rather than wait for a crisis or go to some specialist to fix you just doesn't occur to most people. To me, that's crazy. Even NLP, I must say, has been trapped in that idea of fixing things, albeit fixing it much more rapidly without digging into your past, but still, NLP is a very let's fix it model. True? You go to the practitioner, they cure your phobia or whatever. I'm thinking, you know what? I'll tell you personally, guys, I'm going to share, since it's a small-sized group, I'm going to share my own private ritual practices that I've never shared with anybody. Some stuff that I do, I'll share it all with you. It's all in these books. Who wants to read it? And all the seductions I've done in the last week, blow by blow, literally, are right here. Anyone want to read it? Sure. Tough shit. For $25,000, you can have this book for a week. Plus, I will give a video seminar one-on-one where I explain how you can apply it. Here it is. Here, we're going to show it to the folks at home. Ready? Let's get a close. Nah, fuck you. Got a little lubrication there. So, think about this for a minute. Linking and unlinking. And rather than wait to a crisis, rather than wait till you really are in a lot of pain, proactively do this. I will share with you that 2 to 3 times a week, I spend 90 minutes doing this. And every day, unless there's something really big going on, I spend at least 10 minutes doing it. 10 minutes, all the beliefs I'm going to teach you, 10 minutes a day at least I spend reinforcing them. And 2 to 3 times a week, I spend 90 minutes doing it. I do this. I've created it. There's no reason or excuse for you guys not to be doing it. And that's the level of dedication you really are going to want to have to really make huge progress. And if you do this, if you proactively, before there's a crisis, before there's a problem, design this and reinforce it every day, then you're going to be ready. Now I want to give you another very profound little piece of information. It's in all your notes. So here's what I want to discuss it. I'm going to look up here. I'm going to give it to you. We're going to discuss it, and then you can write it down. I want you to get my transmission, because I do transmit things. Not diseases, though. You can look through your problems and crises and try to find your strengths and your abilities. Or you can proactively design your abilities and your strengths and look through them at your challenges. Does that make sense? In other words, you can stand inside all your crises, stand inside all your challenges, stand inside all your shame, your sorrow, your anger, your pain, your fear, and from there, try to find your resources. But it's like starting out with glasses that are coated with sticky molecule dog shit that just doesn't want to come off, and you're scrabbling to get it off. You can stand inside of that and try from there to find your resources. Or you can proactively, every day, I don't care if it's just for a little bit every day, and some days more, some days less. Hello, panocha. You can every day reinforce and build on your resources so that when challenges occur, you're prepared and you're ready. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Very useful. Again, it's not glamorous, it's not particularly sexy, but it is powerful. All right, so let me start out by giving you a drill. Because I believe that one of the most profound things you can learn to do to begin to unlink to begin to see what you're doing from a place of clarity, so you're no longer bound to it, and see it in a way where you don't re-hypnotize yourself with it. This is a very important point. I want to talk to you folks at home about this too. Let me talk about reinfection, the problem of reinfecting yourself with problems. One of the principles I've taught for many years, I started teaching this right around the time I did the Unstoppable Confidence tapes, back in 1994. This is extremely important and critical in doing any kind of change work. Whether you're going to do it with yourself, if you're a change worker at home, if you do any kind of healing work, this is profoundly powerful. Do get that I'm a strong believer in positive programming. You know that, yes? Often what happens, though, is people dwell on mistakes. There's emotion attached to things, and by continuing to look at your past, what you do is you reinfect yourself with it. This is a profoundly powerful principle. Please pay attention. There's no difference. There is no difference between what you dwell on mentally and what you rehearse mentally. What you dwell on, your brain is saying, okay, I'm rehearsing this, and what you rehearse is what you get. When you dwell on mistakes, if there's a lot of loaded emotion in your past, so you're constantly emotionally drawn back to dwelling on your past, what you're inadvertently doing without knowing is rehearsing that. You're telling your brain, you're relinking to it. To use the yoga term, you're reinforcing that samskara. You're feeding it with emotion, with breath, and essentially you're believing that you can't really change it, or you're doubting you can change it. Whatever you put a lot of focus, attention, and energy on is what you're going to get. So when you dwell on your past, that person who fucked you over, or that mistake you made with Sally Jean Rochkrot, or the business deal that you blew, whatever it is, what are you doing? You're in it. I want you to see the mechanism of this. What you're doing is reinfecting yourself. You're putting, this is your focus, intent, your vision. You're putting all of that, here's your mental eyeball, into your past. PFUP, past fuck up, okay? Puff up. I've come up with a new acronym. I'm really good at this, right? AFC, puff up, past fuck up. What you're doing with your brain is going, oh, look at this. This is what he wants me to keep doing. Okay, it's what he's putting his focus on, so next time I'm in that same situation, I'll do this again. Do you get it? What you dwell upon, your brain takes it as rehearsal. And what you rehearse is what your brain is going to say it out loud. Out loud, everyone. That's what it's going to do, correct? This is a really profound challenge in an area of life where you're stuck emotionally. See, this is a learning curve, okay? Let's say this is a learning curve for any kind of skill. I don't care. Let's take a skill that has no emotional attachment to it. Learning to play golf, or learning to drive a stick shift, okay? Whatever. Maybe some of you had traumas around golf. Your stepdad beat you with a golf club and zipped you up in the bag, I don't know, but the rest of you fuckers, fuck y'all, okay? Here's a learning curve in something that's emotionally neutral. or emotionally positive. You have good connections to it, okay? That's going to take some effort, right? To learn a complex skill, correct?
Yeah.
What about a learning curve? Like speed seduction, it has a learning curve. Speed seduction is not necessarily the easiest thing to learn.
It's also emotionally charged.
Hold on, yeah, I'm going to get there. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, so let's take a difficult learning curve that's also very emotionally charged, right? It's emotionally negative. You've got a lot of fuck-ups in the past, a lot of pain, a lot of doubt that you can even make it work, and you're constantly looking into your past. So sometimes when you can pump yourself up into a really strong state, you'll do the new behavior, right? Other times, when you're dwelling on mistakes, your brain's going, oh, he wants me to do the old behavior. What do? You slide back down the learning curve. Yes? So what happens? Something that should take 3 months takes 10 years. And you've memorized every pattern I've ever done, and you still can't fucking make it work because of this. Does that make sense? This is the structure of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness has a lack of awareness, but it also has a process where you're constantly reinfecting yourself. So this whole notion of unlinking from all of this is very practical. It can take a complex learning curve that can take a long time and collapse it into something that takes a very short time. Being emotionally aware and being able to have emotional choice makes you much, much smarter in the sense that it makes you a much quicker learner. Does that make sense? Yes. These are very practical tools. I'm not teaching you to save the whales here. I don't even like the whales. They take huge craps. They take huge poops in the ocean. They get in the way of our important submarine sonar. Turn them into dog food. Feed the Pakistanis with them. I don't care. Get them out of the way. But the important point here, nothing against the Pakistanis. I have some very good friends who are Pakistani. My friend Assad. So, do you see this mechanism of how people constantly reinfect themselves? Part of the reason they do this is they're not even aware that they're carrying these emotional filters in front of them. They don't even know it. They can't understand why people don't want to deal with them. They don't know, whoa, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, you're responding on autopilot. This is what I call autopilot. Now, here's a key understanding, an exciting understanding. 99% of the people in the world are walking around 99% on autopilot. 99% of the people in the world are walking around asleep. Gurdjieff, the famous philosopher and mystic, called people sleepwalkers. I don't like the term sleepwalkers. I'll use the term autopilot. 99% of the time, people are walking around on autopilot, and they're also constantly reinfecting themselves with their limitations. It's not that human beings are limited or stupid or any of that. They just run processes on themselves that make life much harder. Now, think about this. So let's say you have this process of constantly sliding back down the learning curve because you're dwelling on mistakes. What do most people do? They just pump up the positive programming harder. Well, I'm going to do positive programming even more strongly. And that should, so now you're fighting yourself. There are days when you're feeling good and you're positive program, then this stuff takes over. I believe in positive programming. Look at me. I totally believe in it. But why is it that 95% of the self-improvement tapes and courses out there don't work? Come on. If they all worked, think about it. How many copies, and there's some good books out there, like Psycho-Cybernetics, written in 1960. I recommend everyone get it. Everyone at home get it. A classic book of self-improvement. And Maxwell Maltz was really spot on. This guy was the Ross Jeffries of his day. Not in terms of how he wrote, but in terms of his understanding of how things work. Brilliant guy. Wrote it in 1960. But even he didn't quite give people, he would say, stop dwelling on the past. His advice was stop dwelling in the past and see yourself as successful. But he never told people how to stop dwelling in the past. He just told you, do it. Haven't you heard that before? Stop dwelling on the past. Don't dwell on your mistake. Has anyone given you a process how to do that? Yes or no? Well, that's like useful. That's like saying, I need to get to the airport. Well, just get a car. But there are no cars around. Well, walk. Your positive programming will be much more powerful, much more effective, and require a lot less juice when you learn to stop doing this stuff. Does that make sense? Just from an engineering perspective, how many people here are programmers or engineers? Does that just make sense from a program? You're debugging the program. Yes? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
This is not airy-fairy mystical crap. It's very, very practical. I'm very hopeful about this because I thought about this. If I can take guys who are engaged in this constant reinfection and learned hopelessness when it comes to seduction, a very emotionally charged area of life, and show them how to get out of it, then we can take this technology for battling learned helplessness into any area of life and really get people off this stuff. So what are the practices to unlink from all this? And I want to start by telling you that breath is a huge one. So I want to show you, this is a new form of breath. I haven't taught it yet, except to 2 people personally. No one here in the room, I think, knows it. I first started teaching it, someone came to me. I normally don't do one-on-one consults, but there was someone who happened to be in town, and I forget how he put it, but I agreed to see him. I showed him this. It's really working for him. So the way this breath works is, I don't even have a name for it, but this is a really good breath, first of all, to help you find a place of peace and clarity and pure awareness in an area of life that's really emotionally upsetting to you, or you've had a lot of setback or a lot of limitation, a lot of limiting belief. Yes? Where you keep sliding back down. Now the breath works as follows. I'm going to diagram it out, and then I'm going to show it, and then we're all going to do it. Yes? And we'll take a break in 5 minutes, okay? Or 10 minutes. I hear a bladder squirming, and I hear a bowel rumbling too.
Yes.
Bottled water. We are in Mexico. The breath works like this. Now, I'm going to take a little art class because I'm tired of people laughing at my drawings. Okay? Here's you. Are we getting this on camera? Here's your head. Charlene draws about as bad as I do. We're all, I don't know, this looks suspiciously like something else, doesn't it? Any Freudians? Any Freudians in the room? Well, sometimes a cigar is just a penis. No. There I am, all buff, Mr. Bufftroid. Yes. Give me some muscles. Okay. There I am, Mr. Happy. Why do men have nipples? Okay. We'll put trunks on him. I don't want to be accused of selling pornography across state lines, so, okay, he's all covered. All right? All right. Here's the nose, right? That's his nose. Here's the way this breath is going to work. It's a 2-part inhale. And you're going to inhale right here. See where your chest bone is? Sternum, yes. You're going to inhale right into the space in the sternum, right? It's a 2-part inhale. You're going to take a short little sniff, like, pause for a second. And then really fill the lungs up with air as much as you can from here. So the first inhale, it's only for like maybe 2 or 3 seconds. Pause for a moment, and then really take a deep inhale and let it go, and expand from here, and finally let it go all the way into the belly. And then you're going to immediately release it, but release it like this is best done sitting or laying on your back. So it's like this. It goes. You don't hold it. You're not holding it. You're just breathing in and then releasing immediately. And then what you do, look up here, is you pause at the end of the exhale. At the end of the exhale, before you take your next breath, you pause. For as long as it's comfortable. For as long as it's comfortable. And you find that silence at the moment after the exhale. So you're going to exhale, and at the end of the exhale, you just find some silence. What I personally imagine that my mind has sunk down right here into my dandian. The dandian, which Charlene will teach you more about, is that space in between your belly button and your twig and berries. Okay? There's a space in between there. It's an energetic center. So the breath looks like this. Look, I'll do it. So. That silence at the end of the exhale will put you in touch with a different part of the perception. In yoga, they call it the Purusha. You can write this down and ask Mark Whitwell about it later. P-U-R-U-S-H-A, the Purusha. The Purusha is that part of pure awareness that's unconditioned. It stands outside of time. It sees with absolute clarity. But the problem is the Purusha can only see through the mind. The mind is constantly changing. We're going to get back to this in a second, but just the yoga teaching, from the Yoga Sutra, and ask Mark about it. He's going to teach from the sutra, but you'll see it again. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That's the first real line of the Yoga Sutra. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta is mind stuff. Vritti. Vritti is ripples or waves. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the rippling of mind waves. Essentially, it's saying that this stuff of the mind is always rippling. There's always thoughts crossing. Yoga is the stilling of that so that the seer, the Purusha, can look through with clarity. So the seer, the pure seer, has to see through the filter of the mind. So if the mind is constantly going, then it can't see clearly. Do you understand? And through this breath, you cheat your chitta vritti, nirodha. Nirodha is to stop. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is a cessation. Hey, come on in and say hello. Camera off for a sec. Just come in and we can't have any crosstalk or anything. I'm on a roll, so be good. And action. So yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the rippling of the mind stuff, of these currents in the mind. So the seer can see clearly. Yes, JD.
Cessation, not sensation.
Cessation, the ceasing, the stilling. The metaphor I would use is, you know that story in the Gospels where Jesus is walking on the water? I think that's a metaphor for stilling the rippling of the mind. He makes it calm, so he's above all those ripples. He is an ascended master. He is a true yogi who can walk on the surface of this stuff because he can make it so smooth. And there's another story where they're out on the boat and the waves are horrible and the storm. He just tells the waves, he says, cease, and the winds stop and the waves stop and everything becomes calm. I think it's a metaphor for being a very highly advanced yogi. But these skills are all in the reach of all of you immediately, right away when you do this breath. Does this make sense? So we understand why. You understand why we're learning this, what the practical application is. This is the start of giving you that space where you can begin to look at your patterns of behavior. Guys, you're going to have to whisper. It's distracting. This is a way of being able to begin to look at those patterns of behavior so you can stop sliding back into them. There's a way of looking at mistakes without reattaching to them. That's what I want to show you how to do. Yes? So this breath, Yates, Kim, you're going to have to whisper. Or please step outside. Thank you. Continue. So, here's the way the breath works again. So the keys are, you can do it standing. If you're going to do it standing, make sure that your knees are slightly bent and make sure you can feel your feet evenly spread out on the ground. But I invite you to practice a sitting, laying down, or standing. You take your pick when we get to it. So let me get a volunteer. Anyone not mind being on camera? Anyone okay with being on camera? JD, come here. So this is the way it's going to look. So you can sit in the chair and do it. I don't care. Stand up, lay down. You take your pick. Make it standing or laying or sitting up for purposes of the camera. So the way it works is it's all through the nose. So you do an initial little sniff. Stand over there. Pause for a second and then release it. Hold at the end of the exhale. for as long as comfortable, then begin the cycle again. Immediate release. Really? That's right. Now close your eyes and do it. Don't keep your eyes open. So the breath is gradually over time, that retention of breath at the end of the exhale will grow. This is taken straight from the Yoga Sutra. Patanjali gives 4 different ways to begin to settle the mind, to Chitta Vritti Nirodha, one of which is developing the pause at the end of the exhale. He gives 3 others, which we don't need to go into because we're not going to do them. Now, open your eyes a minute. Okay. So, one of the keys here is you don't retain the breath at the inhale. It's immediately release it. Do you understand? Inhale as much as you can to full capacity and immediate release it. The pause comes at the end of the exhale. The other thing is, when you do this inhale, unlike my other teachings, which I'll show you later where you breathe into the belly, this one is primarily a big breath where you're filling up the chest. And then only at the end does your belly expand. Do you understand? So fill up the chest. The idea is you're breathing into the heart space. And the thing is, it's that second breath that's most fulfilling. It's the second part of the inhale. It's really deeply emotionally fulfilling. You'll find that.
It's not sniff, sniff, and then inhale. It's sniff,
It's
inhale the chest.
Listen, it's very simple. It's a small little inhale, and then a really big one into the chest. You get it?
Yeah.
Do you get it?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone do that. You can do it for like 10 breaths. You can do it seated, standing, or laying down. Questions? I'll take questions before we go. Yes, question.
So the first part of the breath, that small little inhale, do you start from here?
No. This breath, put aside what I've, for this specific thing, it goes here into the chest. This is,
So all of it.
all of it is into the chest. The second part of the inhale, you're going to expand your chest as much as possible. Then only at the very end do you breathe into the belly. Do you understand? As much as possible here in this breath, breathe into the chest. Do you get me? Yes?
Yes.
Other questions before we, yes, Roger.
Yeah. When you exhale,
Yes.
are you actually just allowing that out or are you forcing it?
I'm like dropping my belly. I'm really relaxing it. I'm relaxing it
Yeah.
extremely.
And you talked about your awareness coming down into your dantian.
I said, after the exhale, when you're just pausing for a minute, I imagine that my belly is sinking, my mind is sinking right down here.
After the exhale.
Yeah, after the exhale. Does that make sense? Just for a moment, somehow I imagine I'm putting my consciousness here. Later, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to teach you a drill. Hold on a minute. Don't need to be polite. All right.
Do you exhale just through your nose?
Huh?
Exhale.
Yeah, do it all through your nose. All through your nose. We got it? All right. Do it for 10 breaths. Action. If you're doing this seated, make sure that you're sitting relatively upright and that you can feel your feet evenly spread out on the floor. Same thing if you're standing up. Get in that habit of being able to feel your feet evenly on the floor. Yes, you have another question?
If you're lying down, how should you be?
If you're laying down, just lay down comfortably flat, you know. Just like this. By the way, this is absolutely incredible for insomnia. If you're feeling agitated, this breath will lull you to sleep very quickly. Very quickly. I adopted it from something I read in a yoga book and then something I realized from reading the Yoga Sutra. And then from a little practice of my own. And it's very effective. So, okay. Yes, one more question. Yes.